it all the time. Like I think it was on a Hoocher to Savage Pages where we talked about that lady that went in front of the council, and they're talking about call for a ceasefire at a school meeting or a city council meeting when
And then
those
threatened
people
to kill
have
them.
they have no authority to call for anything. So you're just farting in the wind at that point because literally they can't do anything. So yeah, I get it.
So it just goes to the overall trend of what's happening in the United States this last week. I mean, you have students setting up autonomous zones, which is insurrectionist behavior if you want to really point it out, where people are basically saying that they're breaking away from the United States in this certain particular area. I mean, words matter, right?
Yep.
They said that the January 6th was them taking over the U.S. government, which nobody believed that was the case. Nobody believed that. Not even that day did they believe that. It's a riot. That's what happened. But the point is that you have people all over New England, basically, at these really uppity schools protesting for they say it's for divestment of Israel, but what it really is pro-Hamas like organizations claiming that they're representing the Gazan people, but really they're just clout chasing people with that smell.
Yeah.
That smell. They just all look like they smell, like you said backstage.
Yeah, they do look like they stink. But again, it's clout chasing. It's virtue signaling to the max. These same people who are talking about free Palestine, and again, we're not picking sides here on our podcast. A wrong is a wrong on either side, or right is whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that a lot of these people that scream whatever for either for Palestine or for Israel, a lot of them wouldn't go and put some boots on and go over there and help. You know, it's just all virtue signaling. They go back home and drink their chai lattes and watch their Netflix shows, and then they go to sleep, play on their TikToks, and they wake up the next morning, they go and protest, and it's just a revolving door. They go back home and they do it all over again. So
yeah,
we don't take them seriously. They're just a bunch of washed up people.
But yeah, here's some of the ones that some of the videos that are coming out from all this is Hamas, we love you, we support your rockets, burn Tel Aviv to the ground. This is from Columbia University, by the way. So like it's $90,000 a year college. So take another soldier out, burn Tel Aviv to the ground.
Now, the real question, Coy, is all these protests in America, how is it solving the issues over there?
No, it's not.
Because what these people, I'm trying to be nice here, don't understand is that our government has no say-so. It's the military-industrial complex. That's who your problem's with. It's not the government officials. It's not the school boards. It's not the city councils, because council people, because all of them are paid by the same people, which is the military-industrial complex. So if the military-industrial complex is paying all these people, and you're screaming and shouting and holding up your silly little signs, you're chant to deaf ears, man. They don't care. They got paid.
They're
the military, they don't care, dude. Just go home and stop interrupting people's lives.
Which we'll cover in the next segment because it's attached to this. But like these people just don't understand the world, really what it is. But then you also have people like this. This is from Michigan. Last week, we never really brought it up and played it, so I wanted to bring it up this time since it's kind of connected to the what would you call it? The sit-ins or the occupations or whatever you want to call it, the insurrectionist acts that are happening on college campuses.
Because the drum circles.
Yeah, we should call it an insurrection because that's what they called what happened in January 6th, an insurrection. Oh wait, it's because it wasn't at the Capitol. That's right. It's not an insurrection. It just happens to be at a college campus, even though all of these campuses are infected with this brain rot that are creating extremists through rhetoric. Just you remember how we used to go after like mosques and stuff like that because they were creating extremists, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that whole thing? The FBI used to go after mosques because they were creating Islamic extremists. Well, now we have the creation of extremists through college campuses through taxpayer funds, which is insane to me when you think about that.
Oh, God, this world.
So, yeah, this will make you mad, too, because this is the guy that was the Death to America person.
We've been asked in the past Why are our protests on the International Day of Quds, why are they so anti-America? Why don't we just focus more on Israel and not talk so much about America? Gaza has shown the entire world why these protests are so anti-America. Because it's the United States government that provides the funds for all of the atrocities that we just heard about. And this is why Imam Khomeini, who declared the International Day of Quds, this is why he would say to pour all of your chants and all of your shouts upon the head of America. Malcolm X said.
So these are the people that they're getting the talking points from into the schools, right? So we have an entire anti-American situation where you have people that are death to America and those that are on these college campuses that are saying we are Hamas, a known terrorist organization. They are giving aid and comfort to the enemy in this regard, which is an illegal act, which is a treasonous act.
Yes, it is.
Do that. But at the same time, he's not wrong in the fact that the U.S. is perpetrating these wars through the deep state, who are giving money to all kinds of organizations, including places like Hamas, including ISIS, to cause perpetual wars. Mm-hmm. He's not wrong in that, but it's not our fault. You want to blame the American people. It's not our fault. We don't have control over this place. We lost control over it since Kennedy.
Yep.
Like, once Kennedy was assassinated, that was the end. If people want to say that the U.S., like that January 6th was them trying to take over the U.S., it's like, no, because the U.S. was already couped back in the 60s when Kennedy died.
Long time ago.
So like we've lost way since lost control to the bureaucrats in Washington. Like, they don't care about you. They don't care about who they're funding or where the money goes. They don't care about any of that. They just take your money and do with it whatever they want.
That's right.
Right. So this Colombia thing is just a symptom of what's already been happening. So I understand the anti-American sentiment, or at least the anti-U.S. government sentiment. Same thing with the Israeli conflict, right? I don't like what Israel is doing in Gaza, but I also understand why they're doing it, because Hamas is bad too. But they're both bad on each side. So you want me to like both people when they're both evil individuals doing the exact same thing to each other? I care about the innocents and the civilians that are getting caught in the middle, just like the U.S. citizen is getting caught in the middle between the bureaucrats who have this grand plan inside of their head for who knows what reason other than to money-launder all the money to themselves. Like, that's
exactly what's going on. You have to keep the war machine going, man, because there's no money in peace. You know, and these same bureaucrats that are sitting up here picking sides, at the end of the day, they all answer to the same individual. So, you know, when you get bureaucrats that are saying pro-Palestine, you get bureaucrats on the other side saying pro-Israel, but then they're all having dinner together and shaking hands and laughing at us.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're part of the military-industrial complex who's funding both sides. We keep saying everything is a rich man's trick. The military-industrial complex doesn't care who wins. They're all about the dollars. So they will fund both sides, like they've done in World War II and many other wars. They will fund both sides, and whoever wins, while making the American people fight and pick sides, causing this division in our country. The division isn't about who you support. The division is about the people who's funding this and causing us to hate each other for something that they don't care about. Like I said, you're screaming and chanting to deaf ears. They don't care what side is killing who. They don't care. They care about how much money they can get with this war.
But it also proves how great America is, because it's the only place in the world where you can say death to that country freely without worry of being arrested on the street. Like, if this was anywhere else in the world and he did that, they would have been arrested and thrown in jail right away.
That's right.
Like, especially anywhere in the Middle East. Go say that somewhere there, and that would not go over very well. And not death to America, but death to whatever place you're at. Like, say Turkey, for instance. You go death to Turkey. I'm sure the Turkish government would appreciate that very much. Same thing with the Germans. I'm sure they would love that too.
And you know what's messed up? You brought up Jan 6. These guys at Jan 6 weren't screaming death to America. They're actually screaming, yelling in pro-American stuff. They weren't burning nothing down. They were actually, we talked about that, led in. So you arrest people that were patriots who loved America, and not everybody in there, but the majority, who were screaming pro-American stuff because they wanted change in the system, in the corrupt system that we live under. You threw them in jail, but you're not throwing a bunch of people that say death to America, who had the possibility of committing acts of violence under that term, death to America.
I mean,
that's terroristic act.
Yeah, it is. It is a fact. If anybody's under the illusion that your representative is in control of anything, you're deluding yourself.
Because they're
Which
not.
I have another thing to bring up about that later, but for someone to move on to this, this is also part of the issue, is that you have professors that are supporting these stupid decisions for these people and walking out. So how are you supposed to correct the situation when even the faculty, which are all completely extremely left progressives, support the movement they're getting behind? Yeah.
And this is why we need to get rid of these private schools like this. You do something like this, you're taking money from America to support your school. You're getting money, taxpayer money, but then you're allowing them to scream anti-American rhetoric, like I use that rhetoric, at your school, screaming death to America. So if the government really cared about America, they would cut funding immediately from those organizations, and you'll watch them fix their tune real fast. But they know that the government's going to continue to fund them because our own government hates America. Don't buy into all the optics of them loving our country. And it's not all of them. They actually want to see the destruction of America. And they're getting paid to help with that destruction. This is why nothing gets done. But it's going to change.
No, and it's Columbia University in New York, not South Carolina.
The same university Barack Obama went to.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But there's also Ilhan Omar's child, who goes to Columbia, by the way, was suspended. And not Columbia, it was a Brainerd University. I guess it's in like the same area, but she went to the campus anyway, and she was suspended. And then she was complaining on national television how unfair it is.
Do other student groups have this kind of target on their back, or do you feel that you are being targeted because of the fact that it is in solidarity with Palestinians and against what Israel is doing to Palestinians?
Oh, this is 100% targeted. Every single protest that we have, there's a group of counter-protesters that bring all of their items, their flags and things like that, and they're not seen as having unsanctioned protests or really receive the kind of disciplinary warnings that many of our fellow organizers receive just for being seen at these protests. And so there is definitely...
Really, I could think of another group that gets arrested and thrown in jail.
Yeah, me too. I can think of multiple groups on the left that don't get arrested and thrown in jail for committing acts of violence, burning down streets, killing people in autonomous zones. What else? I mean, the list goes on, right?
Yeah, like I'll let her in on a little secret. You want to know the reason why they're arresting you now? Is because you're going against what the machine wants.
Yes.
The only reason you got a free pass during 2020, during the riots, is because, one, Donald Trump was in power, and they weren't. And two, it was beneficial for them, and it was against his machine that he wanted, right?
That's right.
The establishment and the deep state and the administrative state have decided that Israel is their baby, right? And Ukraine is their baby. You are disrupting the machine, so now you're getting the boot on your neck just like everybody else did.
Mm-hmm.
So you thought you were special? You thought you got a free pass because of 2020? No. You just were on their side at that time. And now that you're no longer useful, you're getting the boot on your neck just like the rest of us.
At the end of the day, we've said it many times before, we are all useless to these people. We are slaves, we're cattle. They will treat the leftists, no matter who's in office, your guy, your gal, they will treat you just like they would treat somebody on the right for the right amount of money. They don't care. And they just prove to you they don't care. You support Biden? Whoop-de-freaking-do. You want to go against Israel? Yeah, you support me. I'll take your vote, but I'm going to throw you in chains because you're not standing with our cause.
Yep. It's just funny to me. So they thought they were protected. So this is the craziest thing about this is why I say the left is breaking, is because they thought they were with the power structure, but it wasn't until they went against the power structure that they now realized they are not in the in group anymore. Right.
Welcome.
So progressives thought they got a free pass for everything when it comes to rioting and doing protests. No, you only get a free pass when they agree with it.
That's right.
They don't agree with what you're doing now. So therefore, you don't get a pass, which means you're going to get arrested and wrapped up in all this. You're going to be treated just like the Jan Sixers. You thought you were special.
Yeah, you're not so special, are you? Equally,
it is.
They hate us all the same. And a lot of people, level-headed people on the right, more center-right, understand that. You know, I'm not some die-hard righty that's just like, I'm right is always right. No. We say it time and time again. We call out both sides. And we understand that our government, whether they're right or left, hate us. Not all of them. But the majority hate us. And when that time comes, you will be sitting right there in a jail with somebody on the right, wondering what's going on.
Because as long as it goes against the machine will crush you.
That's right.
And that's what it is. And it's just funny to me, but like, you know, Michael Rappaport, right? He's a,
oh yeah, that guy.
He's a Jewish man himself. But it's a funny, it is. He used to be the most deranged anti-Trump person I've ever seen. And now he's considering voting for Trump. And now he's even out yelling against these students in a way that's like, oh, hey, you're on our side now, aren't you? You got red pilled real bad.
Yes, he did.
Speaking outside Columbia University in favor of Israel protesters. Watch.
Their race, their religion, their sexuality in this city. It's an embarrassment. And like I said, if these people were screaming at any other group of people, this would be taken care of. I'm wishing everybody a happy, safe Passover. I'm wishing everybody to pray, to think, to meditate, to scream, yell, beg if you need be, for the freedom of our hostages. I'm Israel High.
This issue is breaking the left completely.
Yes.
Completely breaking the left.
That's right. Because I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go for it.
Because the demographics and you know what's going on in our country right now, there are a lot more people that do support, I think, Israel. I think the people that support Palestinian or Hamas or whatever, well, they mainly support Hamas, are the loudest. They're the loudest ones. They're getting the most coverage. Most people that support Israel have their protests. They're not doing anything too crazy. And like you said, I think they're burning themselves. They're burning their own bridge with the left. So let them burn.
And the best example is this last clip before we move on to the Ukraine aid and stuff. Is this clip about Google? You remember them having their little sit-in and then were surprised when they got fired?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So here's that report. I want you to take a listen.
Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai announcing this big company reorganization in a new memo, consolidating teams to help develop AI products more quickly. But he also hinted at a new type of workplace culture for Google. Deirdre Bosa has the details in today's Tech Check. Hey, Dee.
Hey, Carl, good morning. So let me give you a bit of context. Google has really been the poster child of cuddly tech culture, kombucha on tap.
Yes, very cuddly. They've been very cuddly for a very long time. They have lots of amenities on the campus. And I think some people just grew up recently, and now they're affecting the bottom line, and that's why it's coming down.
This is on staff.
Good.
That's the softer side of it. But also, for many years, it tolerated an openness for employees to bring social, political causes to work, mix ethics and business. Its founding mantra, even a biggest example of this, don't be evil. But we are increasingly seeing a tougher Google and a tougher Sundar Pichai at the top, necessitated perhaps by this increasingly competitive race in AI. Pichai just sent a note to employees outlining how he is going to streamline the business to simplify structure, improve velocity and execution. But the most interesting part of his memo that came at the end of it, he wrote, and I'm quoting him here, "This is a business, not a place to act in a way that disrupts coworkers or makes them feel unsafe to attempt to use the company as a personal platform or fight over disruptive issues or debate politics."
That's because it affected the bottom line. That's because it went against the machine. I told you. As before, you thought you were special. You thought you got a free pass because of 2020. That's not true. You're still going to get the boot on your neck because you went against the machine.
That's right.
That's what Google is doing right now. They're like, okay, this issue is not what the establishment wants. This is not what the intel agencies want. Now we have to crack down. Because it was fine when it was LGBT stuff. It was fine when it was all the other things. But you touched on the third rail, which was Israel, and their plan to give them aid and do all kinds of nasty things. You stepped on something you shouldn't have. Just like on Jan 6, right? They stepped on the Capitol. That's something they shouldn't have done. They stepped too close to home. That's why they got crushed, is because the machine saw what happened. They wanted it to happen, and then they crushed them in order to prove a point. That's exactly what's happening here in Google. That's exactly what's happening in Colombia. They're crushing your throat because you stepped out of line.
Yep. And the reason they did that, especially Gen 6, one of the main reasons they did that, they struck fear in people to show them, like, this is what will happen if you cross the line. If you do this, if you mess with the machine, this is exactly what we'll do to you. So it kind of keeps people in this fear state of going after the establishment. And over time, people will be so scared, like you're seeing now with these Palestine, what you're seeing with Google. People will be so scared to speak up that they will just allow things that are unconstitutional, unjust, and other things to happen because they are scared of the amount of force the government, corporations will come after them, and people don't want their lives ruined. So it's a way to control us through fear.